So we just finished our 30-minute boil of the wort with the first round of hops, the bittering hops, which were Kent Goldings. Now we're going to boil it for another 10 minutes and add Simcoe hops. And this is what the hop pellets look like. They're also hop cones, but these are hop pellets. And these will go in and boil for 10 minutes. Now these are more of aroma hops, so they will bitter the beer, yes, but because they're not being boiled for very long, some of that flavor, which is a sort of more piney flavor, will be retained in the beer. So I'll just stir this up real quick, and I'll set the timer for 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I will add more hops and let it boil for 1 minute. So if you want to take a look at what we have here, you see a nice greeny sort of color of the hops. So see you in 10 minutes. So we are down to our last couple of minutes of the boil. About 10 minutes ago, I put in some Simcoe hops. Now I'm going to put in, for the last minute, Chinook hops. They have a rather high alpha number, which means they're pretty bitter. But they're very aromatic. They have a sort of piney flavor, aroma to them. And this will help with the whole hoppiness and pininess of this brew. So we have 1 minute left. I'm going to add them in, stir them up, let them boil for 1 minute. And when this is over, we will be done with our boil. So give that another minute. And then we will move on to the chilling and the pitching of the yeast. So while that's happening, I have some yeast right here. I'm using dry yeast. Now, dry yeast has the advantage in that I can keep it for about a year and it's still good. But the problem with dry yeast is that I do have to hydrate it. So I have some water here, about 4 ounces of water that are at about 90, 95 degrees. So I will put the yeast in there and let it hydrate for about 15 minutes. Now there is such a thing as liquid yeast. Liquid yeast, there's my timer, is actually preferable when brewing. The problem is liquid yeast tends to die off more quickly. Turn that back to clock, turn off my brew pot. But liquid yeast only lasts for about 4 weeks, so that is the disadvantage. The advantage, however, with liquid yeast is that it's less likely to become contaminated. Dry yeast can become contaminated in the manufacturing process or in the process of rehydrating it. So we'll see, though. I've never had any issues with contaminated batches. So let's see what happens next. So we've just finished our boil, and I have it now in the sink. And we have a special setup in our basement wash basin. And we have this thing called a chiller. So we've set it up so that the water comes through the chiller pipes. It's cold water, and it goes all through and it chills the actual wort, okay? And all that warm water that's been heated by the wort comes out. So Barry, this is why it's helpful to have a brew buddy. I have this lovely thermometer. It's used in the dairy industry, actually. And I can tell that the wort is cooling by looking at the temperature right here. Now, right now, the temperature is close to boiling. It's dropped quite a bit just in the few minutes of being in the sink. But it was at 180 when we started, and it's slowly moving down. Now the advantage of this chiller is that it quickly chills the wort. As I might have mentioned before, if you slowly chill the wort, like put it in an ice bath or let it just sit with a lid on it, you are possibly going to contaminate it with just molds and yeasts that are in the air, and bacteria and viruses as well. So it's very important to chill this wort as quickly as possible and get it into your primary fermentation. Now Barry is feeling the water that's coming out, and it's pretty warm, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. But we can tell, and he's agitating the wort a little bit just to distribute some of this hot wort through these coils, which are cooling it down. Let me see what the temperature is. The temperature is down to what? 150. So and this will take probably a few more minutes, but it shouldn't take much more than 5 more minutes. So I'll pause it right here, and we'll be back in a few minutes.